Hello and welcome back to the penultimate weekend of the Speed Group's F1000 Championship. This weekend we're in the northeast of the countryside at Croft Circuit. We have a newcomer this weekend, first race ever. I just thought you would come and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Reece, and this is my first time in an F1000 car. My first race in an F1000 car, and today is, it's quite difficult for me because it started to rain. This is my first ever race, which is not really what I wanted, which is not very ideal. But it should go to plan. We had a bit of pace yesterday in the rain, and we were quite fast, going past some, from Formula 4s, which is good for me considering I've never actually raced here or done anything F1000 related in the past. So.
And a little birdie told me, has it just recently been your 16th birthday?
Yeah, it was last weekend. So it's only 5 days after, which means I'm officially the youngest F1 driver, F1000 driver on the grid ever.
Wow, ever? That's a pretty impressive claim to fame. Yeah. Right, well, we'll leave you to it. We wish you the best of luck, Reece.
Cheers.
Right, and we're going to hand it straight over to Andy. It's going to be a brilliant race.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. I would tend to agree with you there. Slippery conditions, a very blustery Croft Circuit, and it's Michael Watton, the points leader, on pole with his nearest rival in the championship, Dan Clowes, alongside. Iyengar and Paul Butcher are on row 2, ahead of Adam Walker and Reece Lycett, the newcomer, 6th on the grid. Remarkable. Elliot Mitchell and Dax Ward are next, ahead of Rob Bailey, Lee Morgan making a welcome return, then Andrew Wheals, Dan Levy and Christopher Hill at the back. So, 15 minutes of racing here in slippery conditions at the Croft Circuit in Yorkshire. The red lights go on. They go out now, away we go, and Michael Watton makes a decent start from pole position. Here comes Clowes, though, in the green car from the outside line. I think he's got away slightly better, and Paul Butcher trying to go with them as well as they turn into Clervaux for the first time. Watton it is that hangs onto the race lead, but the grip here outside line for Clowes means that he actually gets his nose in front as they turn into Hawthorne. Now, that could be crucial because there are 50 points separating those two coming into this race. Once you take their two worst scores, their drop scores into the equation. So Dan Clowes is 50 points behind Michael Watton, and he really could do with beating Michael, the championship leader, in the races this weekend. Down towards Tower they go. Watton is second, Paul Butcher applying the pressure there in third, with Iyengar in fourth position. Iyengar, who is fourth in the points as well. Paul Butcher is fifth and only 3 points behind him, so the battle actually for third in the points is very close. You've got Adam Walker on 228, Iyengar on 223, and Paul Butcher on 220, so just 8 points covering third, fourth and fifth in the championship as well. So it's been an enthralling year of F1000 racing, and in the wet conditions here at Croft for the penultimate meeting of the year, the final couple of twists and turns of the championship battle are going to be seen right in front of us. This is going to be a fascinating weekend of racing. Down towards the left-hander at the entrance to the complex they go. Clowes from Watton at the moment is the order at the front of the field. Michael Watton, who has this non-start that he had back at Snetterton, where it all went wrong. He had a 7th place finish in race 1 and then a non-start as a result of the mechanical gremlins that had struck in the previous race. He didn't start race 3, whereas Dan Clowes has had a wonderfully consistent season. He's only won one race, but he's been on the podium 11 times, and the only 2 times that he's not been on the podium, he's been 4th, so he's dropping a pair of 4th place finishes. So he's actually dropping more points than Watton is, and in a bizarre sort of way that means that he ends up actually behind the championship, whereas arguably he's had the more consistent season. Right now though, things are getting quite congested at the front of the field, so we're on to lap number 2 now, with Clowes still leading. Watton and Butcher though very much going with him despite the filthy conditions here this afternoon. They're dropping the cars behind slightly as they drop down the hill, surprisingly steeply downhill into Tower Corner. This is a notoriously slippery part of the circuit in the wet, but doesn't seem to be slowing down Paul Butcher, because Paul Butcher in third place is latched right back onto the gearbox now of the second place man, Ron Bald, with Paul Butcher, who himself of course is a 1-time winner and 6-time podium finisher this season, looking for that 7th podium, but ideally looking for a 2nd win. The chances of the championship have now gone for Paul. Oh no, what's happened there though? Something's broken. The front left corner, the front left suspension simply gave way under braking into Sunny in, so that was a very strange incident there for Paul Butcher just as he was starting to apply the pressure to Michael Watton in front. So a disaster for Paul Butcher, and unfortunately that will be another DNF. That will be his 5th DNF of the season. Paul has been quick, there's no doubt about it, but reliability has been an issue for the F1000 veteran. And Paul Butcher out once again, and will now have a lengthy repair job to do overnight to get the car ready for the races tomorrow. There is your lead gap then, Clowes to Watton as they rush down in towards Clervaux for the third time. Big gap back now to Alok Iyengar, who's all on his own in third. Alok looking though for now that fourth podium of the year. The season's really started to get better and better as the year's gone on. But we're on board with Watton now in second place. No pressure anymore from behind, which leaves him free to attack Clowes for the race lead should he wish to. But for Michael Watton, a second place would be more than enough to keep a healthy championship advantage. Let's go on a little bit further back. There's Elliot Mitchell in the number 11 car. Elliot Mitchell, who has not been with us since Snetterton, actually, earlier on in the season. Then he came back at Castle Combe, last time out, but where he had a couple of three, indeed, top 5 finishes. Elliot Mitchell in the green number 11 car is working his way through the far end of the circuit and looking to try and get his first win of the championship. It's not going to happen, it would seem, in this race. Through go the leaders. There's Iyengar in third, give you an idea of the gaps, and then in fourth position looks to be Reece Lycett, who's having a remarkably strong debut in the championship. There is an award at each weekend for the newcomer of the meeting, for a driver making maybe their debut in the championship, and Reece Lycett, you'd have to say, would definitely qualify for that award. There he goes, the youngster. Car number 16 for the 16-year-old. He works his way through the complex, looking remarkably at home, actually. This is going to liven things up there because the safety car is being scrambled. This, we would imagine, is because of Paul Butcher's stricken car. I don't think we've lost anybody else yet, so Paul Butcher off at the side of the road up at Sunny. That means that the safety car has been called for, so the marshals, hard-working British marshals, will head out to deal with the incident. It's on days like this that we really do value the marshals most, because of course when it's a bit wet and a bit grim, that's when the marshals are suffering the most. I'm stood out there on their post at all times, but it's often when they're needed the most, because with slippery conditions, cars are more likely to find themselves off the road. It has to be said that in this occasion, didn't appear to be driver error for Paul Butcher. It was another mechanical gremlin, but well, mechanical problem, not a gremlin this one. The wheel fell off. That's a pretty substantial problem, I'd say. And Paul Butcher will be hoping to bounce back strong in race number 2 later on. So the safety car then picks up the race leaders. Now, Dan Clowes didn't have an enormous advantage over Michael Watton. If anything, this safety car could play into the race leaders' hands, because what it does is it brings Alok Iyengar onto the tail of Watton. So if Alok were to get a good restart, start to apply the pressure to the second place man, that could potentially allow Dan Clowes to scarper off up the road and hopefully take a race victory. And he would hope get a few cars between himself and Watton, because really he can't just rely on winning races, can Clowes. There are 6 races left in the championship, so that means there are 180 points still up for grabs. He is 50 points ahead of Dan Clowes. You score 30 points for a race victory and 25 for second. So if Dan Clowes were to win the remaining 6 races of the season and Michael Watton were to finish in second place, he would only take 30 points away from him. So Watton can essentially afford to finish second or maybe even third in all of the remaining races this season, and he would still be guaranteed the championship. What Dan Clowes really needs is for Watton to have another non-finish, because that would really start to affect the point situation. And after Croft, we head to Donington, and then that's it. 3 more races at Donington Park on the national circuit to round out the season. It's a championship that at the moment looks as though it may well go down to the wire, but how close it will be awaits to be seen. And we get a look at Elliot Mitchell. He's now been promoted into 5th position, of course, as a result of Butcher's demise. Elliot Mitchell, who started 7th, so he's made some good progress. He's also found a way ahead of Adam Walker somewhere. Adam Walker, who's 3rd in the points. Having had a pretty consistent season, actually. Here's Adam Walker, a couple of podiums along the way, yet to get a first victory, but he's at the head of that train of cars fighting for 3rd in the championship. However, Alok Iyengar, who is 4th in the points and only 5 points behind him, is ahead of him on the road. There you caught a glimpse of the red and white number 14 car of Adam Walker working its way through. At the back of the field is Christopher Hill in the number 18 car. He brings up the rear of the field. We've got one invitational runner this weekend, which is Dan Levy. And Dan Levy in car number 17, you can see him there. That's a car that is not homologated to the F1000 regs, but it is a Jedi chassis with a 1000cc motorbike engine in it. It's just had some other alterations. You can see it had a slightly bigger rear diffuser, so it's not eligible for points, but to bolster the grid sizes, they're allowed to race under the Invitation Cup, just one entrant though this weekend in that championship. A lap of safety car, unfortunately, is required here to retrieve the stricken car of Paul Butcher. But that's good news for Dan Clowes, because they're only 15-minute races, and a safety car lap around here is well in excess of 2.5 minutes, especially in the wet. So Dan Clowes, every lap that he spends sat behind the safety car is 1 lap less, or possibly 2 laps less in reality, that he will have to defend from Watton, because it's taking time away from the race once it gets restarted. We will get restarted, we will have some more racing coming up, but whether or not Watton's going to be able to challenge and find a way through awaits to be seen. So out of the chicane they go. You can see it's a wide open circuit here at Croft. It's exposed to the elements, that's for sure, and we're feeling those elements here this afternoon. It's been very wet and slippery, and it's a tricky circuit in the dry because it's high speed but also very technical. There are some nice fast corners out the back through the Jim Clark S's, Barcroft and into Sunny, but then of course it all tightens up at the end of the lap through that complex, so it's tricky to set the car up, especially in the dry, because with these what would be slicks and wings from single seaters, of course they're running on grooved wet tyres in this race, but in the dry they'd run on slick tyres, so you would be tweaking things like the front and rear wing settings to try and get more or less downforce, and with it being a high speed circuit in parts, you may think you'd want a low downforce setup, but then of course you need the car to grip through the slower corners as well, so it is a challenge getting the car set up around here. In the wet though, I think it's pretty much the same for everyone. Dial the downforce up as high as you can go, because you need all the grip that you can get, because you won't have as much mechanical grip from the tyres because it's wet, so you need to rely on the car to do a little bit more of the work. Here goes Walker. There in number 29 is Dax Ward, again making a welcome return to the championship. Dax missed the last round at Castle Combe and also missed Cadwell Park earlier on in the season, but Dax Ward has had a best finish of 5th so far this year, and he's finished 5th on 3 occasions, so he's made the top 5. Now he'd like to make the podium if at all possible. We'll watch what progress he can make when we go racing, which is going to be very shortly, because the lights are out on the safety car, which means that we're going racing this time around. Dan Clowes, the race leader, will have to negotiate a safety car restart. So the safety car will pull into the pit lane. The field is bunched up behind the race leader, who now becomes the pace car. There is no overtaking allowed though, of course, before they hit the start-finish line. So no matter how good or bad a restart Clowes gets, there's nothing Watton can do about challenging him until they cross that start-finish line. Away they go. Well, actually, really backing up now is Dan Clowes. He's really trying to cause a bit of congestion behind. Now he stands on the loud pedal, and that worked quite nicely, because you can see the gap between Clowes and Watton is bigger than the gap between Watton and Iyengar, who is looking up the inside down towards turn number 1. Alok Iyengar looking for second place. Can't get up the inside though. That's a difficult enough move to make in dry conditions, but with the standing water on the inside line there, I'm not surprised that Alok decided to back out of that one. Scrabble for grip through the never-ending right-hander at Hawthorne corner, then firing through the chicane, still using lots of curb even in the slippery conditions. It's more the exit curbs you need to watch out for though. When you're flat out on the power, they will spin the rear wheels up in a heartbeat in the wet conditions. Watton though does seem to be driving more defensively than on the attack here, doesn't he? As he maybe is trying to just consolidate the championship points for second place here. There goes Reece Lycett in 4th, not yet coming under any real pressure from Elliot Mitchell either. So Elliot Mitchell is not exactly leaping onto the tail of the youngster. So if Reece Lycett could get a 4th place finish in his first ever appearance in the championship, that would be really very special indeed. His first ever car race as well, so that's fantastic to see. Nice battle going on there. Dax Ward coming under quite a bit of pressure from the 33 car of Rob Bailey as they rounded the double apex right-hander at Sunny in and then Sunny out. The leaders head through the next sequence of corners at the complex, and Watton now, having shaken free of the pressure from Alok Iyengar behind, has set his sights once more on the race leader through the hairpin, one of the slowest corners in British motorsport, and then onto this really long pit straight. The blast past the pit probably feels even quicker in the wet, because you know how little grip you've got underneath you. Michael Watton also has very little time left though to do anything about Dan Clowes, because we're starting the final lap now. That safety car has taken a good chunk of the race away from them. And so Dan Clowes only has to defend for one more lap. There's the Dax Ward Rob Bailey battle. Just in front of them is the silver and red of Adam Walker. The yellow machine there there of Rob Bailey, who's had a couple of 6th place finishes this year, and he's trying to pick up another place here into the chicane. He has a tighter line through Hawthorne, but Dax Ward was not backing off. Oh, Alec Iyengar has stopped. Alec Iyengar has pulled off at the side of the road, coming out of the chicane. Well, I say pulled off, he may have spun, but it's a strange place to end up after a spin. You'd have to assume that's some sort of a mechanical drama that has unfortunately put the provisional 3rd place finisher out of the running. That, of course, will promote Reece Lycett onto the podium remarkably, so as long as he can keep it on the island for another half a lap, he's going to pick up a podium in his first ever race. Fantastic stuff. The race leaders, though, are heading through Barcroft and Sunny for the final time, and I'm not convinced that Michael Watton is close enough to challenge Dan Clowes, nor do I think that he really is inclined to take the risk right now. He knows there are 2 more races coming up this weekend, and so he doesn't really need to go for every point at the moment. He can afford to drop 5 points to Dan Clowes. The gap will come down slightly in the championship, but it will still be a healthy margin for Michael Watton going into the final couple of races this weekend, before, of course, the finale at Donington Park next time out. This is exactly, though, what Dan Clowes needed to do. A race victory is just what the doctor ordered, and for the 2nd time this year, Dan Clowes sees the checkered flag first and wins in the F1000 Championship. He wins race 1 here at Croft. Michael Watton picks up some good championship points in 2nd place, though, and amazingly, Reece Lycett, 6th on the grid, was impressive enough, but to finish 3rd in your first ever race, and in those conditions, that is even more impressive. Elliot Mitchell's 4th with Adam Walker 5th, then Dax Ward, Rob Bailey, Lee Morgan was down in 8th place with Dan Levi 9th, Andrew Wheals 10th, and Christopher Hill 11th. We lost Paul Butcher, and late on, of course, Alec Iyengar also failing to finish.
Right, well, huge congratulations on that. Are you lucky in the wet, would you say?
I don't know. I think that might be the first F1000 race I've won in proper rain. So I'm really pleased with that. And to keep Michael behind as well, even better. We're still in with the sniff of the championship, but I've got to keep beating him. So yeah, really pleased with that. Really pleased.
Well, you're very consistent, and your points show that across the board. What do you think is going to happen after this?
Well, we've got 2 more races here, 2 more at Donington in a few weeks. I think it's still all to play for. There's 4 races left. Anything can happen. The good bit is the boys at JFK are still screwing the car together well. It's not stopped all year so far. Hoping I'm not cursing that, but as long as it keeps going, we've still got a chance.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations, and go dry out now.
Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations on 2nd place. Talk us what was going through your mind when you went out there in the wet.
Well, in the situation I'm with the championship, I just wanted to be clean and consistent and not make a mistake. And the start was very close with Dan, but fair play, he hung it out round the outside at turn 1. And yeah, we were very evenly matched in that race. It would have been nice to have a few more laps to have a go at him, but he was going very quickly, so well done to him.
You were only half a second off when you crossed the line in front of him. Do you think you would have got him?
It would have been nice not to have the safety car. I think a few more laps of pressuring him, something might have happened, but I was happy to take 2nd. I think not to take too many risks today, so today was a day to finish, I think.
Reece, first ever race, and you're on podium. You must be thrilled.
Yeah, it's really good because, yeah, lost for words. It's really good getting a 3rd place in my first race because it really shows what I can do, considering what happens, you know. I'm just really thrilled about what's happened, and I didn't think this would happen at all whatsoever. So this is really good for me, and I'm really happy about it.
So quickly just talk us through what was going through your head when you were going out there.
Well, I was going out there, I was thinking, well, I'm not expecting much from this race. I'm expecting maybe to stay where I am or maybe 5th. So in the race I was challenging Elliot Mitchell, and we got very close at one point, to the point where I thought we were actually going to hit maybe a couple of times, and I managed to get him in the end. And then the safety car came out, which is always a blessing, so I caught up with Alok, got behind Alok, and then was chasing down Alok, and then unfortunately had a spin, which is really unfortunate for him. And I managed to cruise past and get the 3rd place. So
Brilliant. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.